What's up guys, ToptierYugioh here, I'm Antoine Steele, and today we want to talk about SPYRALs, one of the other TCG exclusive archetypes from the Dark Illusion. And SPYRALs is an archetype that's based around spying and espionage. It's like a crossover between Metal Gear Solid and James Bond. And the whole mechanic is that you want to find out information about your opponent and their deck, and then be rewarded for that information and using it correctly. And so let's go ahead and get into the effects. So first we have SPYRAL Super Agent. He's like our James Bond, aka Solid Snake in this case. And he's an Earth Warrior level 4 with 1900 attack and 1200 defense. And the effect is that if this card is in your hand, you can declare one card type, monster, spell, or trap, reveal the top card of your opponent's deck, and if you do, special summon this card if it is that type. If this card is special summoned by the effect of a SPYRAL card, including itself, you can target one spell or trap on your opponent's side of the field and destroy it. You can only use each effect of SPYRAL Super Agent once per turn. So SPYRAL Super Agent has really good stats for level 4 monster. It's a warrior, so you can search with Rhoda and summon it with Invoker. I think it's a really skillful card as well because it rewards you for knowing about your opponent and their deck. And a lot of times you're not going to be able to know what the top card of their deck is, although there are ways to do so within the archetype. A lot of times you're just going to know based on the matchup. And I think it rewards you for knowing information about your opponent, the metagame, and their deck. So if you're playing against like Burning Abyss, for example, it's going to be smart to call monsters because most of their deck is monsters. If you're playing against like Pendulum, you're not going to call it traps, obviously. And so it rewards you for making proper decisions based on your opponent's deck. And you can always just look at their graveyard and see what they've played, and then make your decision based on that. And I think a good example of that would be if you're playing Monarchs, where they have a relatively equal number of spells and monsters. And then if they have more spells in the graveyard, that means they still have more monsters in the deck most likely. So you'd want to call monster for Super Agent's effect. And so I think it's a really skillful card in that regard. I do wish the special summon effect was a little bit better, like only destroying one spell or trap isn't really powerful right now, especially when the top 3 decks don't really use spell or traps. I mean, outside of Pendulums, where they have scales, but destroying one scale on your turn isn't really that effective. So I wish that it had a better effect, but I do think being able to special summon itself from your hand, being a level 4 monster, is pretty good, and it can set up some other plays. So let's look at the next card, SPYRAL Gear Drone. It's a wind machine, level 1, 100 attack, 100 defense. If this card is normal or special summon, look at the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck, and if you do, place them on top of their deck in any order. During either player's turn, you contribute this card, then target one SPYRAL monster you control, and it gains 500 attack for each card your opponent controls. You can banish this card and one SPYRAL card from your graveyard, then target one SPYRAL Super Agent in your graveyard, add it to your hand. So Drone is actually a pretty good card. It has 3 effects, and historically, monsters that have 3 effects have been pretty good, and not just monsters, but any card. Like if you look at Sacrifice, anything with a lot of effects gives it a lot of versatility and allows it to do a lot within your game. So looking at the first effect, it gives you that intel that's necessary for Super Agent, and also it's good for controlling what your opponent draws. I don't know if any of you have read Patrick Hogan's book, but he has a section where he talks about where you can influence the game, and one of those sections is your opponent's play. It's hard to influence what your opponent does, you can't control what they do. However, with Drone, it actually allows you to control what they draw, which can influence the plays that they have to make. You can force your opponent to make certain plays. And I think it's really powerful that you can do that within the archetype. And in the second effect, notice that it is not once per turn. So you can have multiple drones and then tribute all of them to boost up your agent or any other SPYRAL monster by a lot of attack. So you can stack it up, and that effect boost and that attack boost is permanent. And 500 per each card your opponent controls is actually a lot. And the third effect is good because when you do have an agent in the graveyard, it's going to allow you to set up more plays. I think the only problem with that graveyard effect is that right now there isn't a very good way to get it in the graveyard aside from it being like destroyed from your side of the field, which isn't very efficient. And so I think this card has a lot of power and a lot of utility, but right now we just need to find the right way to use it. We're gonna get to that later though. Next we have SPYRAL Quik-Fix. It's an Earth Machine, level 1, 500 attack, 400 defense. The effect is, if this card is normal or special summon, you can add one SPYRAL Gear card from your deck to your hand. If this card is in your graveyard and you control a SPYRAL Super Agent, you can discard one card, special summon this card, but banish it when it leaves the field. So this card is your searcher for the deck. When summoned, you can add a SPYRAL Gear card. So that's going to be your SPYRAL Gear Drone or your Big Red, whose effect we'll get into later. And then the graveyard effect is good because it special summons itself back, and you can bypass it banishing itself by making a rank 1 Xyz, because it is level 1. And now looking at Drone and Quik-Fix, both are level 1 machines with under 500 attack, meaning that they're both eligible to be used with machine duplication, which is going to let you summon a bunch of them from your deck. And they don't have once per turn effects either. And so with Quik-Fix, you can summon Quik-Fix, search, play machine duplication, summon 2 more Quik-Fixes from your deck, and search 2 more cards. And so that's insane. You can gain a lot of advantage that way. However, I do think one problem is that If you have a bunch of quick fixes on the field, your only option is to make rank 1s, but rank 1s aren't that good. And finally, we have the other SPYRAL Gear, which is also searchable by your quick fix, and that is SPYRAL Gear Big Red. And Big Red is an equipped spell card. The effect is activate this card by targeting one Spiral monster in your graveyard, special summon it, and if you do, equip this card to it, it cannot be destroyed by battle. You can only activate one Big Red per turn. So this is a premature burial that's even better because it protects it from battle. So anytime you have a searchable premature burial, that's gonna be good, and that has a lot of potential, especially when we get more cards for Spirals. I can see Quik-Fix searching your Big Red it's like gonna be an insane play. Like there's gonna be some way to abuse this, especially considering Quik-Fix isn't once per turn. It's just insane for me to even think of. But I think Big Red has the same problem that Drone and Quik-Fix also have, and that's that they interact with the graveyard. However, there's no way to get them in the graveyard yet. And so let's go ahead and get into some of the problems that Spirals have. The first of which being that they don't have a good engine yet. And so it sort of feels like they gave us all utility cards with no engine cards. Quik-Fix is a searcher, so it'll probably fill that role eventually, but currently its uses are sort of limited due to the lack of ways to get your cards where they need to be. And so if you look at like Burning Abyss, in the first set they gave us Skarm, Seer, Graph, and Dante. We could search from the deck, special summon from the deck, special summon from the grave, and also get monsters in the grave to trigger all those effects. So they gave us the engine and allowed the deck to grow around that. Same with Cosmos, they give us Farm Girl and Cosmo Town. So we can add from the deck to the hand, then banish our monsters to activate their effects, then Cosmo Town will get them back to our hand. So they gave us that engine that allowed the deck to evolve. Even with Subterrors, we have a Field Spell Searcher, Nemesis can summon monsters from the deck and itself from graveyard, then the field spell can also activate the other flip effects. So you have an engine. You're getting your cards where they need to be. But if you look at all those examples, that first core set established that engine. But that's not the case for Spirals, and that's a little scary to me. But I'm hoping that it's something that will be released in the next set, or at some point in the future at least. Because right now there's no way to get our cards where we want them to be. So there's no way to like get monsters in the graveyard for Big Red. There's no way to get your drone and your quick fixes in the graveyard to use their effects. And even if you activate Quik-Fix to search a drone, there's no way to summon it from your hand. So there's a lot of normal summons. Your only special summon is from the graveyard with Big Red, but you have to get your stuff in the graveyard somehow. And from the hand with Super Agent, who's a different level than the other ones. So you can't make an Xyz or anything. So it's a little awkward right now. And that leads me to the second problem, which is the lack of synergy. So not only do they not have a way to get where they need to be with an engine, but even if you have everything, their effects don't really work together. An example of this would be if you had Drone and Agent. You could summon Drone, reveal the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck, special summon Agent, destroy a spell or trap. But then what do? What comes after that? You have a level 1 monster and a level 4 monster, no tuner so you can't synchro summon, but then they're different levels so you can't Xyz. So what do you do with 2 weak monsters? I mean, if anything you can use Drone's effect to boost up Agent, but that depends on your opponent having cards. And it's the same way with Quik-Fix's graveyard effect. If you have an Agent on the field, you revive Quik-Fix, you get a search, but then what do? What do you do with the drone that you search? Do you summon it and then make a rank 1? Like, it's just a really weak play. I think the only real synergy within the deck right now is the ability to summon Quik-Fix, search a Big Red, then maybe revive a level 1 to make a rank 1. Like, that's something at least. But the deck is supposed to revolve around Super Agent. He's supposed to be the man with the plan, but right now that plan doesn't seem to be a very good one. And the third problem that I think Spirals have is that they have a low ceiling. So Spirals really only have access to rank 1s within their own engine, and the rank 1s that we have in the TCG right now are very, very weak. I don't think there are any powerful rank 1s at the time of this video. I mean, there's Ghost Trick Dolahan, which is pretty decent. Then there's Utopia Roots. And Utopia Roots is only good because you can discard a rank up magic to make Utopic Dragon. But even that's not that good because you have to have a rank up magic. And rank up magic's not going to be good unless you do have a rank 1. So now that we've addressed the problems, let's try to think of some solutions. So there's no defined engine, but we need to find a way to exploit our monster's effects using another engine. One that gives the deck maybe some synergy and allows us to make some stronger monsters. So first we need to establish an engine. So where do we want our cards? Where do we need to get them to be? 3 of our 4 cards affect the graveyard, so I think we want some way to get our monsters in the graveyard. And I think the best engines for that are going to be Dante or Lightsworns. Now the problem with Lightsworns is that they trigger in the end phase, which is slow and requires a large engine to do. Like, you're gonna need Luminas, Lilos, charges, solar recharges, like you need a lot. However, for Dante, I don't think the Burning Abyss monsters synergize with Spirals either because you can't have them on the field at the same time. The Burning Abyss monsters will just blow themselves up. And there are also no level 3s among them. However, Dante can be made from a small speed raid engine, which also gives access to MX Saber Invoker, which can search Agent. So I think the speed raids are going to be a definite staple in this deck for now. Second, I want to fix some of the synergistic problems. And there are 3 different combinations of monsters that we can have. You can have Drone and Quik-Fix, Drone and Agent, or Quik-Fix and Agent. In the first situation, if you have a Drone and Quik-Fix, the obvious choice is a rank 1 because you have 2 level 1 monsters. However, in the latter two situations, synchroing is optimal because we have different levels. But because Drone and Quik-Fix do work so well with machine duplication, you can still make rank 1s easy if you play that. And Kinkabio will also help with that, as it's a monster that will give you an instant rank 1 when you normal summon it. However, I think focusing on both Xyz monsters and synchros together will take up too much extra space and not give the deck enough focus in order to perform well, and so I think you'll need to choose one of the two routes. And this leads into the third problem. So now we want to raise the ceiling by thinking of ways we can Xyz or synchro summon turn 1 and build strong boards that can also be used to break boards. And so when it comes to synchros, we will need some outside help from the Speedroids, of course. Terratop's a free summon that can search Red-Eyed Dice, which is a level 1 tuner, that can also make synchros between 2 and 7 with any other Speedroid monster. I think Emergency Teleport's also another good option because it summons tuners from the deck. And Ghost Ogre Snow Rabbit's a good choice for this because it's also good in hand as a hand trap. Then with Metal Foes coming out soon, it's also a pretty decent meta call. I think Blackwing Gofu is a good option as a level 5 Dark Tuner that special summons itself from the hand. Quick Draw Synchron serves the same purpose, but it's wind and you have to discard. But discarding is actually not that bad considering your monsters again have graveyard effects. And then being wind can synergize with Speedroid Takedown board. I think Glow Up Bulb's another good option. It's earth so you can make Naturia Beast with Agent. And then also being able to revive itself is huge for any synchro deck. Cockle-Doodle-Doo is another good option. As a special summonable tuner, its level changes, which can be both a pro and a con, but your lack of control over that bothers me, so I'm not too sure about Cockle-Doodle-Doo. But some people like it. Let me know if you like it. So when it comes to an Xyz build, rank 1s are the only option. However, the main problem with rank 1s is that they're extremely weak. The only decent rank 1 is Ghost Trick Dillahan. Most of the others require 3 monsters, which is inherently bad, and have weak effects too, so there's just like no point in playing rank 1s. The only other interesting one is Utopia Roots, because it can protect itself from battle, and that you can use it to summon Utopic Dragon, which is a 4k beater that negates targeting effects. And some decks just won't draw the out to it, and if they don't, you just win. However, the problem is that you have to discard a rank up magic spell card to summon it, but there is a way to circumvent that. And the way I do that is by playing rank up magic Skip Force and Raid Raptor Last Strix. So drawing them together allows you to make Ultimate Falcon, aka Raid Raptor Towers. If you draw just the Strix, you can make an Ultimate Falcon. It's destroyed during your end phase, but you can rank that up to a 7 Deadly Sins, which is another 4000 attack monster who protects itself from destruction. And then if you just draw the rank up magic, you can make Utopic Dragon. So any situation where you draw any of the cards leads to you summoning a 4000 attack beater. And this type of deck can just summon a stream of 4k monsters that your opponents are going to have a lot of trouble dealing with. So now I want to show you some examples of each one. And we're going to start with the synchro build. So in this first game, I'm playing against Destiny heroes with the new stuff. So I go ahead and special summon a Terratop and a Takedown board to go into Dante, and I mill a Glow Up Bulb. So I'm able to special summon Super Agent, bring back the bulb, and summon Naturia Beast. He doesn't have too many spells, but I can negate the one that he does have. Then I can use my Mind Crush, because I do know what he drew. I'm able to force him to discard it. So I do go wrong with the next Super Agent effect, but I can still normal summon it, and with the instant fusion that allows me to make a Trishula and banish a lot of his resources. I don't attack with a Dante because it's not going to let me go for game anyways, and I wanted to save Dante's effect for when I do need it, but he doesn't draw the out to my field, and so he just has to scoop. Next is a game versus like Pendulum Grails or something, and again I'm able to summon Terratop, Takedown board. This time I go into Invoker to get the Super Agent, go into Naturia Beast, and then use 1-for-1 to get Quik-Fix, and then search a Big Red, get back a Drone, use Drone to control what he draws next, and go into Dullahan to protect the rest of my field from battle. So I make sure that he draws a spell card so I can use Naturia Beast to negate, the spell card that he drew. So you can actually make a lot of pretty good fields. But a problem with this deck is that the ceiling is still low. Even with the synchros and the Xyz monsters, it's still not a very high ceiling deck. So this replay is going to show that. So I'm able to use Ghost Ogre to stop his Cleafort Scout, but he still has Card of the Demise to set 5 traps. And with so many normal summons in the deck, it's just impossible to win. So I have to scoop and go to game 2. So then even with game 2, I draw out to the back row, and I still have a lot of trouble winning this game. So I don't summon the Super Agent because it's not going to do me any good in the field. I want to keep it in hand so I can still destroy some back row. I destroy both of his skills with Twin Twister, but Card of Demise allows him to draw way too many resources. He set his trap on the far right first, so I knew that I was probably a spell card. So I knew it had to be a bluff and that the next 2 were traps. So I Twin Twister both of those, knowing one's a Forbidden Chalice, but I wanted to get the main trap out of the middle. But then by that point I just don't have anything left. He just got way too much advantage with Card of Demise, and I lost a lot of advantage by playing Twin Twister. Because it just simplified the game state more than I could handle. Then he draws into another Card of Demise, and at that point it's like, there's no way I can win. So next I want to show you the Xyz build. So this is a game versus Pendulum, and I go ahead and summon Last Strix, and then go on the Ultimate Falcon, set my Mind Crush, and I also have the Veiler ready. So he destroys the Mind Crush with a Eccentric Archfiend. Not much I could do about that. but let's see what he can do about the Ultimate Falcon. So he Pendulum summons 4, uses Sorcerer's effect, Monkey Board, Guitardo, tries to use Ignister on it. I guess he didn't realize that it was unaffected. Then I just used the Veiler on his Utopia the Lightning. Now I activate Ultimate Falcon's effects so he can't activate any more effects for the rest of the turn, and just attack over the Lightning. Summon Drone so I can control what he draws. However, his next 3 cards are actually pretty good. There wasn't a bad option. And that's one of the drawbacks to Drone. So next he summons Emerald, and then uses that to put his Utopia and Utopia the Lightning back in his extra deck. Then he uses Ignister to summon a Master Pendulum, and then goes back into Utopia the Lightning. So this is actually a really good play on his part. Then he attacks over Falcon, and attacks directly with a lot of his monsters. However, Rank Up Magic Skip Force has an effect to where I can special summon Falcon from my graveyard, then I summon Last Strix, summon another Falcon, and then a 7 Deadly Sins. So he dealt with 1 Ultimate Falcon. Let's see if he can deal with a 2nd and a 7 Deadly Sins. So he goes into Cyframe Omega, and I don't care about that, that's fine. Pendulum summons 5. He tries to destroy 7 Deadly Sins with Eccentric Archfiend, but I just protect it with its own effect. He has a Treacherous Trap Hole, which he's able to destroy 7 Deadly Sins, but Falcon is still on board. And at this point he scoops because he realizes he has no Alpha Falcon. Like, he could handle 1, but not 2. So then we go to game 2, and I open up Terratop, take Tumblr, go into Dante, and go ahead and mill 3. And I activate Drone to look at the top 3 cards of his deck, and they were pretty good. It was a Zephyros, Armageddon Knight, and a Treacherous Trap Hole. I don't want to give him Armageddon Knight because it's a starter card, and Trap Hole is a little too much defense, so I just decided to give him Zephyros, hoping he can't use it. But he has a really good hand otherwise, and so it didn't really matter. So he's able to go into Castel to out to Dante, use Zephyros and Pendulum Rising to search a Luster Dragon, to search a Luster Pendulum, go into Ignister, and then make a really good play from there. I can't really do too much with what I have now, so I try to use Super Agent just to maybe reveal something on top of his deck to give me some information for game 3. But I planned on scooping. I was hoping to see like a side card or something. So here's a game against Domain Monarchs, and he has an Edia on his first turn. I'm able to Veiler that though, and so then on my turn, I'm lucky enough to draw a 2nd Veiler. So I go ahead and special summon my Terratop, get my Take Tomborg, summon that, go into Dante and activate the effect. Then I can summon Drone, and I use the effect, and the next 3 cards of his deck is 2 Tenacities and Domain. I put the Domain on top of his deck because that's going to force him to reveal a Monarch that I can make him discard, with the Mind Crush of course. So then he has 2 Domains at this point, which is not good. He uses Rota to search an Edia, which I Veiler again, and he sets a field spell card, which I'm guessing is a Domain. I top deck Machine Duplication, summon 2 more Drones, activate the effects to look at the next 3 cards of his deck, put them in any order, and the next 3 were MST, Pantheism, and Stormforth. I put MST on top of his deck because my only back row is chainable, and at this point I'm pretty sure I know what's in his hand, because I've seen his next 3 cards for the last few turns. Then I'm able to go into Utopic Dragon and attack over both of his monsters. However, I did forget that you can't activate Mind Crush if you don't have a card in your hand in case you call it wrong, and so that kinda sucked, but he didn't have a Monarch anyways that he could summon, and so he couldn't win at that point. Alright, so now that we've seen Spyrals in action, both versions of the deck, an Xyz build and a Synchro build, we've seen some of the problems, some solutions. I'm going to go ahead and test with them a little bit more over the next few days and bring deck profiles of both, then also some more duel videos. And so I'm going to be sure to bring more content, so let me know what you want to see regarding Spyrals, and it's going to be up pretty soon. There's going to be a poll in the top right corner of the screen, and it will really help me a lot if you answer that. And so thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you all later. Bye.